women are not encouraged to be authentic or independent thinking or no. So I was really ostracized. I was really punished for saying my truth. And, you know,
That's horrible.
Yeah, so that was one of the reasons I really, really just needed to get away and start listening to myself.
Right.
And it's so quiet up there. I mean, you can hear the electricity going through the wire.
Hi, and welcome to the Desert Lady Diaries podcast, a weekly conversation with women who found their home in the Mojave Desert. I'm Dawn Davis, and this is episode 83. If you'd like more information about the podcast, it's all at the website desertladydiaries.com, and I invite you to engage with the guests, with other listeners, or me on social media, on Facebook and Instagram at Desert Lady Diaries, or on Twitter at Desert Lady Diary.
Annelies was born and raised in Kenya after traveling extensively through Africa, Europe, and the British Isles. She arrived in Palm Springs, California in 1982. 11 years later, heartbroken and disillusioned, Annelies moved to Copper Mountain Mesa in the Mojave Desert with her 5-year-old son. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So tell me what your first experience with desert was.
Well, I was born and raised in Kenya, and Kenya has multiple climates. Rainforest, beautiful coast, and it also has desert. And it was a 300-mile journey from Nairobi to Mombasa at the coast, and we would go through the Nika Desert, which I found fascinating because it was full of elephants and stuff.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, you sent me a picture of elephants on Instagram today. It was beautiful.
Elephants.
Yeah.
Yes. I wish we would stop slaughtering them.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
That was your first experience. What was the difference between, let's say, that desert and the Mojave Desert?
Well, the next desert I experienced was Palm Springs, which is actually the Colorado Desert, which is lower elevation, so it's really hot, really hot summers. And I lived there for 11 years and 2 husbands. Then, after a really horrible divorce, I moved up here. And it wasn't really a choice, I'm going to be honest with you. Okay. It was like I had to go somewhere. I had this 5-year-old. I needed a place to live. I was heartbroken, disillusioned. I wanted to fall off the planet. And where I ended up was 5 miles off the nearest paved road. I could scream as loudly as I wanted and nobody called the cops. It's perfect. Yeah. So that's really, but I've learned to love it. It has such character.
So let's back up a little bit to moving to Palm Springs. Did you come from Kenya at that point?
No, I am of Dutch origin. My parents were both from Holland. And when I turned 18 in Kenya, I was actually born before Kenya got its independence from Britain. So for 8 years, I was actually a colonial. And so I didn't have rights to Kenya citizenship. I would have had rights to British citizenship. So when I was 18, my dad kicked me out, basically, and I had to get a job. And there was nothing that I could do that a Kenyan couldn't do. So they weren't just going to give me a work permit. So I had to leave. It was absolutely heartbreaking.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
And have you been back since?
I've been back twice, once in 1979 and once in 2008.
So when you first came, because obviously you were in Palm Springs in 1982, but you went back to Kenya in 79.
I left.
When did you get to the States, let's say?
Well, I left Kenya in 74, went back once in 79 after living in South Africa for a minute. And then I got here in 82, and my husband and I were in the hotel business, Marriott, so we were transferred over here.
Oh, wow.
And Palm Springs sounded kind of romantic, and it was a lovely hotel.
Sure.
So we were in the lap of luxury for a while, you know. We were allowed to use all the hotel facilities and stuff.
Wow.
It was really, played golf with my girlfriend.
That's great.
That is so not me anymore. And then we divorced, and we did not have children. We really wanted children. That was probably one of the reasons we divorced. And then I met my second husband, who is an American, and he fathered my only biological child. I have many children, but only one of them that I actually birthed. And I forgot the question. Sorry, went off on a ramble.
Well, I was asking, how did you get from Kenya to the States, and then you went back, and then you came back. So Palm Springs.
So Palm Springs, hotel world, and then once we got a divorce, my second husband and I moved up here.
How did you find a place up here on Copper Mountain Mesa?
I was really good friends with a lady named Jean Lathrop, who was also known as Stone Woman, who was half Chippewa and half German.
Oh,
she
wow.
was huge, tall. She had such presence. Unfortunately, she has since died. But she had lived up there, up on Copper Mountain Mesa. And she later moved just up the road from you in Joshua Tree. But she's the one that said, you have to go fall off the planet for a minute. You got to get yourself together.
And you know, when you first said that about that and going up to Copper Mountain Mesa and that you were heartbroken and disillusioned, just knowing the people that I know from recently moving here myself in the last 3 years that I've met, I thought, what a perfect place for someone who was heartbroken and disillusioned to land, because the community up there is really amazing.
It is amazing. It's very unconventional.
Yeah.
But it really is amazing, and they do really rally around you. And we are allowed to be quirky and eccentric, eclectic. In fact, it's encouraged.
Exactly.
Which was very, very important for me, I think. Yeah.
So, wow.
Yeah.
So when did you, because you're an author of a book called Kenya Cowgirl.
Yes.
How did that all come about?
Well, that's a bit of a sad story. I wrote 2 books, Kenya Cowgirl and Stay Well, Kenya Cowgirl, and they are basically a kind of an autobiographical fiction about growing up in Kenya. And this is all around when I was 35 years old. And I just got this absolute burning necessity to write these books. My son was very small. I would wake up at 2 o'clock every morning and write until the household woke up. And then I'd be awake with my son. So in 6 months, I had written 2 books.
Wow.
And about a year after I finished writing, not even a year, less than a year, I hope I don't cry, I started having just absolutely horrendous nightmares. And I thought I was going crazy. And later I really wished that I was going crazy, that it was that simple. Because the memories were all about sexual abuse as a child. No. And it was absolutely horrendous. Both my parents, their friends, I mean, I will spare the microphone, but it was around that I basically got me and my life back. I call it traumatic amnesia. I don't know what it's called officially, but because when you block out any memory, you don't have a choice of whether you're going to just block out the bad ones or just the good ones. Everything is blocked out. So I had very little recollection about this amazing childhood that I had. So I feel like 35, writing those books, is when I finally started to really be me. And I knew who I was, I knew where I was going, what I wanted, I became authentic. And it wasn't encouraged. Women are not encouraged to be authentic or independent thinking or no. So I was really ostracized. I was really punished for saying my truth. And, you know, it was,
that's horrible.
Yeah, so that was one of the reasons I really, really just needed to get away and start listening to myself.
Right.
And it's so quiet up there. I mean, you can hear the electricity going through the wires.
You know, I house sat for someone on La Brisa a couple of months ago, and I noticed that immediately. I came out and I was like, what is that buzzing? And it was the electric wires. So do you feel like that quiet really allowed you to start to hear your voice?
I need absolute silence to hear my thinking and feel my feelings. And when you're a wife and a mother and everybody, you know, you're cooking, you're taking to school, you're doing, it's always about somebody else, and you never have a moment. So how do I feel about that? And really, I was so unpracticed that I actually had to say to myself, how am I feeling? Am I glad? Am I mad? Am I happy? Do I want to cry? It was like everything was just frozen behind this sort of performance face that I would put on. I stopped wearing makeup then too. It just seemed pointless.
Right. Oh my goodness.
I know.
So now fast forward to, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. Is that when you decided to go back to school?
Yeah, it was 2013.
Okay, so it was more than that.
Yeah,
So
and
six
6
about
years.
six,
Yeah. I had earned my living as a secretary, business administration when I was traveling. That was a really easy way to get a job, and then I did go back to school in the 90s. I became a massage therapist, which I absolutely loved. I'm very strong and physical,
and it's that kind of one-on-one with a person,
and I
sort
felt
of thing.
like I was helping people. And it was amazing. And then, and I was really good at it. I don't like blowing my own horn, but I was really good at it. And then I got cancer in 2005.
Oh my goodness.
Cervical cancer. Went through all the crap, the chemotherapy and radiation and stuff. And I lost my strength. I've never got it back.
Wow.
I've never regained that exuberant, energy back. So I went into elder care. And they tell you not to get involved, but I do.
Of course.
And
if you're
then
an empathetic person, how
and
can
then
you
they
not?
die and you cry. You felt like you lost yet another grandmother, you know. And I said to my son, what the hell am I going to do? I have to get a job. I have to work. I have to do something. And he said, well, why don't you go back to school? I said, school? I don't like school. I hate school. And he said, well, you've got great demographics. You're female, you're an immigrant, and you're old. And you'll get financial aid. And my ears pricked up. Oh, financial aid, eh? So I started going to Copper Mountain College, and next thing I knew, I just loved it. And I was getting A's, and I really cared, and I was doing performances around stuff that I care about. And it just went from there.
I think people are surprised. I know when I have people come and maybe we drive out to 29 Palms or out to Wonder Valley and we pass the college and they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's a college here? So as I understand it, it started as kind of a satellite of College of the Desert.
Yeah.
And then they got their own accreditation?
Yes, they are fully accredited.
Right. And what are their main degrees, if you will?
I think auto is one of their favorite ones.
Okay.
And firefighting, EMT, that
Nursing?
kind of... Nursing?
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably art as well. And then for the rest, anything you want. And I changed my mind about 3 times. Came up with liberal arts and humanities, and then went into communication because I got my associates and then I got a transfer to UC San Diego, for God's sake.
And now you've been going there. You've graduated.
I'm graduated.
Right. Congratulations.
I know. Woo! Yeah.
And are you going on for additional...
Honestly, I was. I really thought, yes, I'm going to, I wanted to do a study in being an African American because... even though I'm pale skin, I consider myself an African American. And people get very annoyed, humorous. Most people go, because, it's just ridiculous.
Right.
So I'd like to do a social sciences oriented study on African Americanism. But honestly, when I finally got the degree, and I got the piece of paper in the mail the other day that it says...
You're official.
Yes, I cried like a child. I'm just exhausted, Dawn. I am so tired. And I don't care at this point. That bachelor's was so big. And maybe I will. I don't know. Not today.
Right.
I could have applied. I fall into an interesting demographic. I got offers from really Princeton, Harvard, yes.
Oh my goodness.
I had to apply and,
Sure.
but I was, please apply.
Right.
I'm a nice asset for their demographic, aspirations, I think.
Wow.
So,
but still.
I don't want to, and I don't want to move.
Well, I was going to say, it's the other side. Those are the other side of the world, if you will.
Because I did move, really, to go to San Diego. I rented a room and lived there, basically, for 2 years so I'd get my bachelor's.
And drove back and forth.
Yes, I don't want to. And I don't want to live in San Diego. I don't like cities. I like my desert.
So... you're going to take some time.
I am.
To just...
And I'm working.
Good.
I'm working with UCSD, putting decades of research on after-school programs for underserved children. I'm scanning it all. So this is all paper in files, and I'm digitalizing it all.
Okay.
So it's kind of tedious, but
Right.
I'm learning so much, and I really do feel that it may end up sort of my career, if you will, which is strange seeing as I'm 63, but I've lived my life backwards, what can I tell you?
We do what's best for us at the time.
That's right.
Coming to this desert up here, besides the releasing of those emotions and the authenticity coming to the surface, what have been some other experiences that you've had out here? I mean, living in Palm Springs desert is a little different than living up on Copper Mountain Mesa.
Yes.
So creature-wise, plant-wise, so were there any experiences that you remember when you first moved up there that kind of surprised or shocked you?
Well, first of all, when I moved up to my cabin, I had no running water. I had to haul my own water. And my vehicle situation was questionable. And I moved up on the winter solstice of 1993, and it was bloody cold. And my only source of heating was, a little wood-burning stove. And I never chopped wood before. I grew up in Kenya, for God's sake. I would say, chop me some wood, and somebody would chop me wood. It was horrible. We had servants and things. So to chop my own wood was like, oh, so yes. Copper Mountain Mesa kicked my butt. It mirrored to me what a brat I was, how selfish, how manipulative, always trying to get somebody else to do the work for me.
Interesting.
And there was nobody else. And my son was 5. He couldn't chop wood, much as I thought he should probably learn. Come here and chop some wood. So, yeah, I think I have become a much kinder. I'm a much better listener than I ever used to be. And I'm so proud because I survived. There's enormous self-esteem in hauling your own 500-gallon tank of water up to your place and, chopping the wood that's keeping you warm at 6 o'clock in the morning when it's snowing outside. So, yeah, and I learned that I can trust myself. It's just amazing. I might not do it like anybody else does it, but I will get it done. And it'll work for me. And I really like myself. I've learned to really get to like myself, I think, which is enormously important.
Yes.
Because if you don't like yourself, I mean, really.
Right. That's the starting point, really, of everything. And any relationships that you have. And
how can you love if you don't feel love for yourself?
Right.
And how can you know what you need if you don't take care of you?
Wow. So now you're writing or have written another book, right?
Well, that was an interesting story. At a certain moment, which is also one of the reasons why I went back to school, our very own amazing Andrea Zettel.
Yes, High Desert Test Sites.
Yes, amazing woman. She started bringing students who would come and visit her at her place yearly from Columbia University. And she wanted to share the desert with them. And she wanted somebody, I guess, like me to, anyway, long story short, I was doing a lot of volunteer work at Copper Mountain Mesa Community Center. And so I would have her and her students over and I would tell them the history. And we had lots of photographs of how the place was built and that sort of thing. And then that kind of led to everybody coming over to my place and seeing a real how a real quirky desert woman lives kind of thing. And so I would have upward of 10, 15 youngsters all in their early 20s, all studying for their masters in fine arts. And I would tell them stories. Somebody'd ask a question and I'd go, I gotta go, and there'd be stories. And this went on for years and years and all these stories. And sometimes Andrea would say, well, tell them the one about, da-da-da. And then she started publishing little books. She's published several of them now. She asked me to put the stories together.
Wow.
And I was only supposed to have 30,000 words, and I had 86,000 words.
Oh my
and
goodness.
How the hell do you whittle down?
Right.
So I finally gave it to her at like 50,000. I said, here, you figure it out. I don't know what she's done with it. I have no idea. It's coming out in this spring. Not sure when.
So it's kind of it'll be a surprise to you.
As much of a surprise to me as everybody else.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And
How does that feel?
Very trusting, because we haven't had any conversations about money. I've no idea, is she selling it? Is she giving it?
Right.
It doesn't sort of matter. It just feels really organic. Whatever happens, it's good. I hope people enjoy the stories, you know.
Well, her reputation is such that I don't doubt it would be anything less than wonderful.
And she's always treated me so well. She's really an upstanding woman. I really, really, really love her. We're really lucky to have her around.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you talked earlier about having a number of children that you did not birth. Now, the one that you birthed is getting married, is that right?
That's Eric, yes.
Okay.
He's getting married.
Right.
He's 31. He's one of our dirt kids.
Okay, and I was going to say, so he's gone on now. He's in San Diego? Or?
He went to San Diego State. He got his degree in chemistry. And he's got a fabulous job. He's manager in one of those marijuana testing labs.
Okay.
So he tests it for all its properties and its, you know, and... Well, I took him to the marijuana museum in Amsterdam when he was 8. So I got him on a nice early start.
Right. To know about it, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's an important part of Amsterdam history.
Yeah.
Just as much as tulips and Van Gogh, who you have in your bathroom. Yes.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, me
he
too.
Probably is my favorite,
Yeah, me
I have
too.
to say.
Undoubtedly, far and away.
Just beautiful. So do you think that Eric will come back to the desert? Did he like growing up in the desert?
See, they call them dirt kids. So all the kids at school, my kids, were dirt kids because we had to transport them 5 miles to the bus stop on dirt roads.
On the dirt road, yeah.
Most of our seals on the cars, ancient cars that we have, were shot, so the dust, we'd arrive in a cloud of dust and open the door,
Kind of like
more
the
dust would come
Pigpen
up.
character from Charlie Brown.
Yes, so the kids were known as dirt kids.
Oh my goodness.
I know, and
That's so strange.
I know. I mean, and for us adults, it would seem like I'd be proud to be a dirt kid, but when you're young, you don't like stuff like that. No,
exactly.
No, so no, to answer your question, I don't think he will ever move back here. However, I find it very interesting because he, of course, has been bringing his fiancée, who I love. She's just amazing. He brought her, which was a big first. Then he brought her parents to the house. And I noticed he seemed quite proud, which really pleased me. Yeah. It's like, this is where I come from. This is my place. It was very sweet,
Well, I think there is something, like we talked about, the authenticity. And there's
there really is. You can't play games up there. You know, there's no dice or something. I don't know. It just doesn't work up there. And if you don't have anything truthful or important to say, people are just quiet. There's none of that distractive yakking constantly.
Right, just to hear themselves talk. Right.
Drives me crazy.
Because I feel like the silence is almost like this smackdown of stop your silly nonsense in life and let's get on with what's real.
Right. Let's pay attention to what's really happening. Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, I know. Ooh.
Ooh, that felt
shivers.
So when you got here, you knew your friend Stone Woman.
Yeah, she was the only person I knew.
Okay, so how did you meet other people when you arrived?
As slowly as possible. I didn't want to meet other people. I was not sociable. They just came sniffing around. There was people, there was dogs, horses needed rescuing. It's like I wasn't allowed to just go out there and fall off the planet. I just wasn't allowed. I'm happy to tell you now, but at the time it's like
frustrating.
Go away.
Yeah, sometimes I've been going through a period over the last couple of months where people will reach out to me and say, "Hey, we're doing this. Do you want to go?" And I'm like, you know what? I'm not fit for consumption.
That's right.
I'm just not. I just want to be in my little space, and I need to go within. I need to focus on me, and this place allows for both.
It does.
Mean, you can be as busy as you want to be, or you can be as withdrawn, if you will, as you want to be. Yeah. And I think that's a great asset to have.
Right. But you asked about the children. It was the children too. I ended up feeding children. I mean, there were herds of children out there, and they were thin, and their parents were tweakers. I mean, it wasn't always a nice neighborhood to live. I got shot at. You'll have to read about that in the book. I'll let you know. Yeah, when it comes out. Yes.
And for people who aren't familiar with the tweaker term.
Oh, people who do methamphetamine and who are like really, really heavily on it, and they jerk, and they just have these movements, and it's like they're tweaking something. I don't know how to. So we just. Right. I didn't make it up. No. That's what they're called.
Right. Yeah. There may be someone listening that doesn't.
Oh, please! Know. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Anything you need to know, just call me. I'd be happy to tell you. Yeah.
So, were these some of the kids that either made it to the bus stop for school on their own,
or made it to the bus stop and needed a ride home, and then I found out that they hadn't eaten, or
oh my goodness.
And then it started, well, then stay at my house. I'll have dinner as soon as, we get back from the bus stop. I don't want you to go home not having eaten. And then I became a foster mother. You're going to talk to Mary later. Right. I was her foster mother. Mm-hmm. She was a habitual runaway. Oh, my goodness. Nobody else wanted her. Another one of my kids, Cody, also a habitual runaway, fostered. He actually lived down the road. I just simply marched over to his mother's house one day and said, "Your son is going to come and live with me." Mm-hmm. Wow. And she's like, "Okay." Can you believe that? I know. No. Please, if you're listening, Linda, I love you, and you've turned out great. Yeah, sorry I mentioned your name. Yeah.
But you felt compassion toward these kids.
He was 11 years old and he weighed 60 pounds. He's just skin and bone.
But getting on the bus and going to school.
Yeah, going to school.
Wow.
Yeah. He wanted to learn.
Mm-hmm. Change of circumstance.
And he got lunch, which was sort of a plus.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, he actually ate dog food.
So how long was he with you?
Like 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you still in touch with him?
He's mad at me at the moment. Oh, okay. It's a long story, but it's all right. We'll get back.
Well,
it'll be fine. Yeah, that's part of unconditional love. You're allowed to be mad at each other. Right. You don't always have to like each other, but the love doesn't go away.
Right.
Yeah. And we'll get back together. It's
right.
Okay. And it's not like terrible or anything.
Just one of those things that comes up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I am so glad that you came and talked with us today. We'll be looking
for the book. Thank you for asking. Yeah, and I don't know what it's going to be called. It might be called Mojave Cowgirl. I have no idea.
Okay. Well, when we know, we will make sure to put it out so that people know that they can look for it.
That would be lovely.
Okay. And you said spring, so we're in spring. So
yes.
There's a short time frame here.
I heard early spring, but then I later found out that one of the main workers on the book has just had a baby, so. You can't argue with that.
Okay, no, you can't. No,
I will put myself on the back burner for a baby.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Not much else.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They need attention.
Yes, they do.
So I would like you to choose 4 numbers between 1 and 50, and those answers will be part of the Diary Unlocked episode for Patreon subscribers of the podcast.
Okay.
Yes. So let me find where I can write this down. Okay. Right here. Mm-hmm. Okay. Your numbers, please.
7, 13, 22.
Oh, that's my birthday.
And 49.
Great.
Yeah.
So the questions that Annelies will be answering will be, any advice for a previous boss? What's your favorite season and why? How would your best friend describe you? And finish this sentence. I've always wanted. So if you would like to hear Annelies' answers to those questions, go out to desertladydiaries.com, click on the support page, and check out the Patreon support page.
The shout-outs this week go to you for taking the time to listen to this podcast today. I really appreciate you. If you find value in this podcast and would like to support its creation, there are 2 ways to do it. The first is by making a standalone donation via PayPal using your PayPal account, credit, or debit card. The second is to sign up to be a member patron of the podcast on a website called Patreon. It uses the age-old idea of artist patronage, which is how artists like Shakespeare, Da Vinci, and Mozart were able to create their great works. And if you become a member patron, you'll receive exclusive access to the Diary Unlocked content that is specially created for member patrons only. If you decide you'd like to support the podcast in either of these ways, go to desertladydiaries.com, visit the support page, and choose the option that's best for you. And please know, however you choose to support, I appreciate it so much. I'll see you back here next week when Mary Bell Castle shares important information about domestic violence and her weekly astronomy column in the local paper. Thanks so much for listening.